Hey everybody, it's Kelly at Zinni Me, and today I am joined with Melissa Spalding.
Hey.
Hello, she's a CMHC in Utah, a counselor who specializes in EMDR with anxiety and trauma in St. George, Utah. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
So we invited Melissa to come on to talk about her own practice building story, and we want to also delve into how she's doing with all of this pandemic stuff happening so that we can all learn from each other, be inspired by each other, and find hope in the midst of all of this, even if we're struggling some. So Melissa, tell me a little bit about when you started your practice and why.
So I started my practice about 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in June, which is crazy that 2 years are up already. And what led me to private practice is I'd been working in residential treatment for about a decade, the most amazing residential programs. And then I got pregnant with my first baby, and I couldn't take the 2-hour commute anymore. I couldn't give that time up as much as I loved my job. And I thought I was going to join a group practice when I went on maternity leave. But as I finished my maternity leave, I got the news that that group practice wasn't going to open.
Oh, wow.
And so I found myself jobless for a moment. And long story short, I joined a different group practice. And after a year, realized I can do this on my own. I wanted to choose who my clients were. That was the biggest factor for me.
And when did you start boot camp?
I started boot camp a year ago. I've been through 2 sessions.
Okay.
So,
And what was your practice like when you joined?
It was okay. I was renting an office space that I ultimately outgrew and kind of got kicked out of. They asked me to leave because they needed their room back. And I was seeing maybe 8 or 9 clients a week. So not a lot. And I didn't know where my next client was coming from. It felt scary every week to look at my schedule and count the sessions.
So what has changed since doing boot camp for you?
So since doing boot camp, I have a beautiful, amazing website that actually markets me. I am seeing clients that I love. When I look at my schedule and I see the names on the calendar, I genuinely get excited. And I'm like, oh, I get to see so-and-so today. And my calendar is almost full. That's kind of the next phase of growth for me. But now I'm at about 13 clients a week, and my goal is 15. So I'm super close.
Right there. Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest factor in you having a practice you love? What changed?
I think it's been having that ideal client in my mind and niching down. I got really clear that I want to work with ambitious women. And it's funny because a lot of women don't identify themselves as ambitious, but I see that in them. I know that it's in their heart. I mean, you could be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm like, that's crazy. You have to have crazy ambition to be a stay-at-home mom.
As we are all learning.
As we're all learning right now.
Schooling our children.
You know, I love working with female business owners. I love working with other therapists. And so really getting clear on who that is and being unafraid to say, I work with women and I work with ambitious women, and I love doing EMDR, and I market that as much as I can.
Did you have blocks getting to that niche? Like, what was the challenge in getting there?
I think that at first I didn't know how to market to women without, I think I was afraid that I would have to be like super feminine in my marketing, like pink rose petals. And like, that's just not, that's not me. And that's not the women that I work with. I didn't know I wasn't sure on how to connect with those women, which is odd because I consider myself to be an ambitious woman.
Well, that's not odd. I mean, but I think that, well, like we say, you usually niche with your own story a lot.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're not fully accepting and embracing of that story, sometimes it's hard to embrace the niche a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what pivoted when you fully stood out in that niche? What did you change within yourself, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Within myself, I think it was just giving myself permission to be that clear, to be that fearless, and to say, I know these women's struggles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think what really clicked for me in the last boot camp session was the authentic transformation proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
That has been a huge tool for me in being able to say, I know your pain, I can speak to your pain, and here's how we're going to manage it, and we're going to do it together.
Mm-hmm.
When my clients are on my website and when they come into session and they ask me, why are you a therapist? That's the voice that I'm using.
Right.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know you, the voice that's on the website is the voice you're hearing now. Like that is it. You show up as you everywhere, which I really appreciate. And like even in the design of your site, it's very you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like just the way you talk is
Mm-hmm.
how you, and that's what people can anticipate to get when they come to therapy. You know, with you,
Mm-hmm.
which I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, how have you been doing lately with the pandemic?
So there's been some surprises, and I think they've been pleasant surprises. So with the pandemic, I have moved the majority of my sessions online, and
Mm-hmm.
I did that 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Today's the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty easy switch for me because previously working in residential treatment, I'd had to do a lot of phone therapy and video therapy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because my clients were from all out of state, and we just had to manage that. So I upgraded my service to get a better connection, and went online. It was an easy decision for me to move my sessions online once I realized it was a gift that I could give people. Some of my clients, I work with a handful of first responders. I work with a handful of medical professionals. They don't have the option to distance in their jobs.
Yeah.
And so by saying, hey, I'm going to make this easy for you, I'm going to provide sessions online, like that was my way of giving to them. It wasn't so much me protecting myself. It was saying, I want to protect you as my client, because the rest of your day is going to be out exposed to people.
I love that. I love that reframe. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So for me, it was a gift. It was a compassionate choice. I was surprised that a lot of my clients, they wanted me to make that call. I didn't get such a good response when I said, hey, do you want to go online? People really leaned into it once I said, hey, I'm going online. Guided wellness counseling is going online. It's like there was this sigh of relief that
it's
they
one
didn't
less
have to
thing
make a
to
judgment
worry
call.
about.
It was one less thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely empower other clinicians out there. Just make the call. Don't give it to your clients. They don't need another decision to make. They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other surprise has been, I've really enjoyed being online.
I know Miranda and I were saying, I was like, I have a feeling that when people do their spreadsheets and boot camp, rent is going off of the expense list for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I loved about it? And this was a shocker for me. It has really called me to be more intentional and proactive and purposeful, because there's no like ease of being in the room together and you kind of read each other. Like when I go into a session now online, I know my agenda. I'm reviewing the treatment goals with them more actively. I'm using all of my worksheets and screen shares, and it just feels really good to lean into it because I want to come across 150% through the screen. And I like the mindfulness and the purposefulness of the screen connection.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's this heightened intentionality when we have a change, we become more focused because we want to maintain and continue that support. And so we're more in tune, I think, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What have you been marketing your practice still? What's that been like?
Yeah, so that's kind of the long game. I've realized is that
Mhm.
like one blog post does not make a client.
Really? I thought that's all it took.
Shocker. Um, it's funny. I was just explaining to my husband last night, like ranking on Google and because he was asking me, Melissa, what's next in your business? How can we grow your business? And I was like, well, I need to rank on Google. And that means consistent blog posts and consistent social media posts. That's the route that I go. And so that's just a practice. I find that it's really helpful for me to batch my work. So a lot of times when I'm doing a blog post, I'll sit down and write 3. And then
Yeah.
those 3 are spaced out over 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it a little easier for me to manage the marketing
Mm-hmm.
when I plan out a month or 2 in advance.
Mm-hmm. Have you gotten any calls over the past 2 weeks?
I have.
So
I have.
I'm gonna just say, like, some people are afraid that no one will ever call again. So maybe call volume has dipped for some people, but we've seen it increase for some. So
Yeah, I'm still getting calls. I mean, I guess something I didn't say earlier is that I'm private pay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not on any insurance panels. I am with one EAP program, so an employee assistance program,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of fill the gaps for me, but I'd like to be off that panel by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've still been getting calls, and I think I know in my heart that people need me now more than ever. They might
Yes.
not be reaching out, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't be on their radar.
Yeah. I love it. I think there's some beautiful reframes in there for anyone that's listening and going through this. That's why I'm so grateful for you to do this interview, because I even was like, yeah, you're right. I haven't thought of it in that way of like, oh, it's the gift kind of thing of protecting our clients and things like that. Just, I really appreciate those perspectives.
Yeah.
So we have another round of boot camp coming up. What are you going to focus on for this round?
I want to make sure that my marketing is tight and that I'm not letting things slip.
Mm-hmm.
But this last go round, I feel like I really got my website where I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think next I mean, my caseload is almost where I want it to be. I'm almost at that 15 clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 2 little kids at home. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So for all the mamas out there, and here's a fun fact. I signed up for boot camp the month before I was due.
I think I remember this. I remember that.
So there's never a bad time to do boot camp.
This is true.
So I've got a little one at home. So I max out mentally at 15.
Yeah.
So I'm almost there, and I want to start exploring ways that I can make passive income.
Mm-hmm.
I developed a mini course just this last month for mamas with postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that that's reaching the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's fun. As a therapist in Southern Utah, a mini course is something that can leave my state. You know, I think for those of us that are in towns, it's like, oh, like I can only market to my town, right? And now that I'm online, I can market to my state, and then with a mini course, I can market to the world, really. Right. So that's exciting, and I have fantasized about the idea of a group practice, and I want to see what boot camp has to offer me knowledge-wise in terms of if that's a good choice and what that will look like.
Yeah. I'm going to be revamping some of that, especially with all the new stuff happening around the world and changes that the US government is making in terms of when you have employees and all of those kinds of things, because we have a whole thing on group practice, hiring, interview questions, the process, onboarding, all of that kind of stuff. So, well, we'll be busy.
Yes.
So what do you want to say to anyone who is considering boot camp after they hear you talk?
That they should do it. That they should do it. I mean, I knew this the moment I went into private practice 2 years ago, that and I'm not afraid to say this anymore. I used to worry that it sounded cocky, but I know I'm a good therapist. I know I'm a good therapist. And nobody taught me how to be a good business owner, right? Like I went and I got my master's, and I've worked hard, but I didn't have a business background, and no one teaches you how to do that when you're getting your master's in counseling. I mean, you're lucky if they even mention how you can make an income, like how that part of it actually works. And so business school boot camp really let me take it to the next level. I think the free information that you guys provide is huge. I mean, anyone can get started on their private practice just with the free information that you provide.
Yeah.
But being able to work through the modules at my own pace and to rely on you guys for that one-on-one help is invaluable. And I think that's something that I didn't know when I first signed up for boot camp, is how much one-on-one I would actually get from you guys.
Right.
And I have an accountability partner through boot camp. She's back in Pennsylvania, and we touch base all year long, not just boot camp, but all year long. We call and text.
Yeah, I think we probably we say we answer every single question. It isn't a group format, but the reason I know you so well is because this last round we were working on your website. So
and I submitted everything, every single sentence got your guys' stamp of approval.
Yes, we've reviewed all of it, and I still keep tweaking it, kind of thing. So, and what do you have to say to anybody out there who's worried or fearful about this pandemic and their practice?
That is going to grow you in the most beautiful ways. It really is just opening my eyes to all the different ways that we can connect with clients in our community, and to be of service, and to give our clients the gift of reassurance and safety. And I've been starting all of my sessions with a COVID check-in, where, for 10 minutes, we talk about how are they doing just related to the virus. And I've done a handful of sessions very specifically on safety planning. I've got a handful of single women that are really fearful of the social isolation if they have to quarantine, and just what that will do to their mental health. And so we talk about how they'll stay connected to people socially and make it through this. So our clients need us. They're not going anywhere. Now's the time to lean in, not lean out.
I love that. Well, and if anybody wants to check you out, they can go to guidedwellnesscounselingut.com and see your site. I'm excited to work with you on all those wonderful projects you have for this next round of boot camp. And thank you for sharing your story. I learned something. I hope that anyone listening did as well. And I appreciate you, Melissa.
You're welcome, Kelly.
All right. Till next time.